Good day, sir. I am Engine Cadet Taduran. My assigned topic is all about the effects of globalization in governments. So, economic theory suggests different kinds of government expenditures to react differently to globalization. According to some research, globalization trains governments by inducing increased budgetary pressure. As a consequence, governments shift their expenditures in favor of transfers and subsidies and away from capital expenditures. The efficiency disciplining effect is thus expected to reduce the share of capital expenditures. The composition effect, on the other hand, is expected to give rise to a higher share of social expenditures. So the expenditures shift potentially induced by the disciplining effect might therefore be enhanced by citizens' preferences to be compensated for the risk of globalization. So there are lots of contents, definition of globalization, and also the positive and negative effects of globalization in governments, the economy, culture, and education. So definition. So understand the positive effects of economy. Free trade, exchange goods and resources to increase exports and import. So if sa government siya na involved, benefits ang globalization sa governments through mga taxes. So free movement of labor, advantage to both workers and also mga recipient countries such as the mga governments. Greater competition, increased investment sa mga stakeholders, mga uguban pa. So impacts. Free trade can harm developing economy. Developed countries are hard to compete with developed countries. Developing countries are often harmed by tariff protection. Labor drain. Some countries find it difficult to hold onto their best skilled workers who are attached by higher wages elsewhere. So increase environmental issues using non-renewable resources, deforestation, pollution, global warming. And also mga positive effects sa culture sa government happens. Multicultural awareness. I start understand the world. Understand negative impacts, loss of local cultures. Tungkol sa globalization, free trade, mawala na ang ato ang culture sa ato ang isa ka lugar. Less cultural diversity. When the local cultures are lost, the world culture will replace, then it will become one. So, positive effects on education. Local school will upgrade their curriculum to a standard. May effects sa education and globalization. Using technology also in the educational sector. International schools will be increasing. So, negative impacts. Local schools are hard to compete, especially itong mga lagyo ng mga schools. Di sila ka-compare sa uban nga schools kay standard. Some learners have difficulties with languages and technology using in school systems. So, for my own understanding, there are lots of effects of globalization in government. But however, there are lots of positive impacts to the economy and also to the environment and to the government. It will help boost the economy of a certain government in which through globalization. That's all. The end. Thank you for listening.
I'm Engine Cadet LOTERINIA Sunray, and my topic is all about identifying the institutions that govern international relations. The result of my research is that there are many institutions that govern international relations. I just pick one. The Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs, or APSIA. This school is a non-profit educational with 38 members around the world. Their purpose is to dedicate to the improvement of graduate education in international affairs. They seek advance international understanding, prosperity, peace, and security through the people and ideas shaped by their schools. So what is international relationships? International relationship is the study of the interaction of nation-states and non-governmental organizations in fields such as politics, economics, and security. Professional works in academia, government, and non-profits to understand and develop cooperative exchange between nations that benefit commerce, security, quality of life, and environment. So, what is nation states? So, nation states is which a great majority shares the same cultures and the ideal in which culture boundaries match up with political boundaries. So, what is the non-governmental organizations? So, this organization is a voluntary group of individuals or organizations, usually not affiliated with any government, that is formed to provide service or to advocate a public policy. Although some are for-profit or corporations, the vast majority are non-profit organizations. International relations are often referred to international affairs. It seeks to understand the origins of war and the maintenance of peace, the nature and exercise of power within the global system, the changing character of state and non-state actors who participate in international decision-making. The study and practice of international relations in today's world is valuable for many reasons. First is international relations promote successful trade policies between nations. Second, international relations encourage travel related to the business, tourism, and immigration, providing people with opportunities to enhance their lives. Third is international relations allow nations to cooperate with one another, pool resources, and share information as way to face global issues that go beyond a particular country or region. Contemporary global issues include pandemics, terrorism, and the environment. The last is international relations advance human culture, truth, cultural exchange, diplomacy, and policy development. There are two major theories of international relations: realism and liberalism or idealism. So, realism is focused on the nation that states work to increase their own power relatively to the other states. So, in other words, realism states that the only certain in the world is power. Therefore, a powerful state via military will always be able to outlast its weaker competitors. So, in self-preservation is a measure them in realism, as states must always seek power to protect themselves. So, in liberalism or idealism, recognize that states are shared broad ties, thus making it difficult to define singular, independent national interests. So, liberalism is in international relations, therefore, involves the decreased use of military power. The theory of liberalism saw its first strong post-World War II emergence in the 1970s as increasing globalization, communications technology, and international trade. That's all.
Everyone, my name is Indian Cadet Henry Luzano, and today I am going to differentiate internationalism from globalism. So, what is the difference between internationalism and globalism? Or is there any difference? But before we are going to continue, I just want you to first look closely on this illustration. Globalization versus internationalization. What made them different? Before we are going to differentiate the terms, let me first define each term. First is the internationalism. Internationalism or internationalization is a political, economic, and cultural cooperation between nations. Remember the word cooperation. When different countries or nations work together to promote similar causes or interests and has a common goal or objective. Also, internationalism or internationalization is the principle that everybody works together and accept global responsibility towards any challenges that faces the world. The doctrine should be pursued a great extent because it benefits nations and states by bringing them together and make them more connected. They both rise together as their common objective. On the other side, Globalization or globalism, according to the sociologist, is an ongoing process that involves interconnected changes in the economic, cultural, social, and political spheres of society. As a process, it involves the ever-increasing integration of these aspects between nations, regions, communities, and even seemingly isolated places. Buot pasabot ani, gi-open ang international borders for free trade for all those interested countries. So, karon, what made internationalism different from globalism? First, sa katong logo, unsay naa sa globalization nga wala sa internationalization, or unsay naa sa internationalization nga wala sa globalization. Yes, ang sa internationalization naay gibutang didto sa globe nga location tag. Unsa kay pasabot ato? It simply means that sa internationalism, it doesn't involve each or every countries, but sa katurang targeted countries or katong interested countries which agreed to work with them together. So, ang nakalahi di ay sa internationalism from globalism is that it involves cooperation between countries for a common goal and purpose. So, a group of countries agreed to work together for a common purpose wherein they won't allow or other countries to be part of their countries, but those only countries who are part of the agreement will work together. Next is globalization. Look on the global aspect wherein everybody is free to join. Diba? Ang globalization is opening up international borders for free market. So, everyone is allowed to join sa globalization. Aside from that, it also allows those developing countries to raise their standards of living. So, unsay nakalahi gyud di ay sa internationalism kaysa globalization? Sayon na siya kaayo. Ang internationalization or ang internationalism only involves limited countries. So limited or katurang mga ganahan, those who agreed or those who are part of a certain international groups, wherein ang globalization involves everybody who are interested or who are willing to join. So that's it.
So good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon to you sir. I am Engine Cadet DACULLO Lloyd. My topic is to identify the rules and function of the United Nations. So United Nations really big helps of globalization because United Nations cultivating peace and security, maintaining good relation between nations and providing assistance to the least developed country. By creating and maintaining a global community, the UN as an institution has to a great degree enhanced and expanded the process of globalization. So, globalization is not the only one who benefits United Nations, but also all the country. So, and then, the United Nations or UN is a global diplomatic and political organization dedicated to international peace and stability. The UN was officially established in 1945 following the horrific events of World War II, when international leaders proposed creating a new global organization to maintain peace and avoid the abuses of war. So, nabuhat gyud ni ang UN tungod gyud sa World War II. So, mao deng wala nay mga war nga sa karong panahon na because sa United Nations kay sila ang nag-maintain sa peace treaty sa tibuok kalibutan. And then, the rules and function of United Nations is to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relation among nations, achieve international cooperation in solving international problems, and be a center of harmonizing the action of nations in the attainment of these common ends. So, So dili lang nag-focus ang ang UN sa pag-maintain kung dili sa pag-develop pod sa mga country nga mga um, wala kayo na develop. So ang UN ang maoy hinungdan, and then example pod ani is ang katong nahitabo sa Philippine West Sea, kay katong giilog sa China ang West Philippine Sea, and then naabot to sa court nga nagpamatuod gyud nga ang tag-iya kay ang West Philippine Sea. So because of President Duterte nga murag dili lang siya ganahan og kagubot, wala na lang niya kuani kanang ilugag gyud ang West Philippine Sea. Pero ang nagpamatuod gyud nga tag-iya kay ang Philippines gyud. And then that's all for my report. Thank you and God bless you.
My name is PENETRADO Clifford, and this is my report, The Challenges of Global Governance. Now, what is global governance? Global governance is a movement towards political cooperation among transnational actors aimed at negotiating responses to problems that affect more than one state or region. Now, the challenges of global governance are: first is declining power of nation-states. Second is the vast flow of all sorts of things through the borders of nation-states. The mass migration of people and their entry. Horrendous events within events nation-states. And the global problems that single nation-state cannot hope to tackle on their own. Now, now the declining of power of nation-states is the global government faces problems that are too big to handle. These examples are kanang environmental problems, ba specifically kay katong pollution, all types of pollution, water, land, etc. Second is COVID-19. Mo gyud naka-contribute gid siya kayo karon sa maka-decline sa power sa ato nation states. Third is international terrorism. And fourth is kanang mga drugs, illegally drugs, bitaw maka-contribute na siya sa ato face nga challenges. Lisod kay i-handle, especially sa ato ang country karon, war on drugs. Second is the vast flow of all sorts of things through the borders of nation states. This could involve the flow of digital information of all sorts through the internet. It is likely that such action would be unpopular and bring negative reaction to the nation state involved. Example ani kay katong ka George Floyd bitaw, katong kuan siya, napatay siya sa usa ka policeman kay tamakan iyang liog. Ano siya nga naka-kuan siya naka-cause og kanang riot bitaw sa katong nga lugar. Grabe kaayo, mga tindahan gipang ransak, gipang sunog. And second is the fake news, nga maka-trigger sa ng fake news nga grabe ka nang maka-negative ba, murag black propaganda pa og sa kuan pa lang siya sa kanang pagdagan bitaw sa magdagan ka og politics. Nagi na black propaganda kada side ba sa politician. Third is the mass migration of people and their entry. Often illegally into various nation states. Global governance is currently facing this challenge because of states that are unable to control this flow of criminal elements as well as their products. To example ani kay kanang human trafficking, especially human trafficking mo ginay atong gikuan ron sa ato ang kalibutan karon, human trafficking kanang ang mga babae butangan og drugs sa ilang mga lawas para lang ismago sa lain nga lugar. Yes, kanang mga sex slave gani na pambaligya ang mga babae para na mo palit daghan kina. Second is kanang drug trafficking, mga routes ba sa mga drugs karon nga makakuan ba po na sa atong economy. Kay di ba na sila moagig tax. Mga drugs nga ipang kuan sa lain-lain nga lugar pang distribute. Now the next is the horrendous events in the national states. These are the events within the nation states that states themselves either foment and carry out or are unable to control. Ang atong kuan ani ma-example na to ani kay katong ka George Floyd gyapon. At kuan kani nga horrendous event kay ang example ani horrendous event is kanang extrajudicial killing. Mani ka George Floyd gidakop siya pero gipatay siya sa pulis kay ang rason ana kay na siya ay counterfeit nga bill or ato maingon nga piki nga kwarta ba. Karisang war on drugs sa atong especially sa atong country nga daghay na nga matay gid bitaw. Lastly is the global problems that single nation state cannot hope to tackle on their own. Ang kuan ani kay one is the global financial crisis and panic that sweep the world periodically. Example ani kay kaning kuan, many of us still remember the collapse of the US housing market in 2006. Mo siyang kuan kanang financial crisis ba? And the ensuring of financial crisis that wreak havoc on the US and around the world. Financial crises are unfortunately quite common in this and often causes economic tsunamis in the economies. That's all.
So, good day, sir. So, I am Engine Cadet LANABAN. So, I am here to tackle about my continuation na topic about explain the relevance of the state amid globalization. So kami di gani duha di mi kabuk na kuan ni sir. Bahin mi so are ko sa topic which is what is globalization in the economy. So, the increasing interdependence of world economies as a result of the growing scale of cross-border trade or commodities and services. The flow of international capital and the wide and rapid spread of technologies. So, this meaning about this topic. So, this topic is wherein the capitalists, especially those who are consumers, especially the buyers, when buy products from technologies, were gathered in the outside world and money mga gikan sa mga butang nga gikan sa lang nasod, mga technologies gikan sa nasod i-transport ila diri sa Pilipinas. So next is how do we make globalization more just? So the ability of countries to rise above narrow self-interest has brought unprecedented economic wealth and plenty of applicable scientific progress. So we need to just about wherein the globalization is wherein people have willing to do trading, especially for import and export products in the other countries, in the export products, and we buy their products to export in our country to kuan. So we cannot kanang dito magsalig sa ilahang sa ilahang products. So dapat kita mga Filipinos nagitay mga atong mga product wherein pwede sa nato i-export or import sa lang nasod, i-distribute na to dito. So
globalization, so muna sila ang nasulod sa exchanging of goods, cultural o uban pa. So social globalization refers to the sharing of ideas, information between the throughout different countries. So kaning social globalization is muna sila mag sharing ideas, for example sa atong Philippine Navy. So for example is like atong gibalita nga ang US Navy ni ari sila diri para tudloan nila og unsaon pag inana ang og naay mosulod nga terorista, unsaon nila pag defuse sa bomb, o sa uban pa. So economic globalization. So economic globalization is refers to the interconnected of economies through trade or exchange of resources. So muna sa akong giingon ganina, muna siya ang economic globalization, muna siya ang mag-exchange of goods para sa pineapple, bananas, ibaylo sa China, muna atong ipadala nga product sa ilaha, then sila mo padala pog product sa tuwa like mga dulaan, mga sapatos, gadgets. So next is what is the globalization in geography? So in geography, globalization is defined as the set of process, economic, social, cultural, technological, institutional, and contribute to the relationship between society and individual around the world. So diri ang geography is tanan sa tanan tibok kalibutan around the planet. Kuan siya mag-sharing sa mga technology, culture, sa relationship, kung unsa ang ilahang culture dito, dapat ma-adapt na to diri kung unsa tong culture sa nila, mag-exchanging na ta ba. So that's all, thank you.